It's Halloween, which means that many media outlets are turning their attention to stories of the spooky persuasion. One seemingly endless source for these tales is the long list of urban legends that get passed around from time to time. It's easy to see why they're so appealing, too. A good urban legend lets the listener fill in many of the missing details with whatever they can imagine, even as its familiar nature gives the whole experience a sense of authenticity. For example, if you were to visit Napa, California, and yes, there is a town there, not just a bunch of wineries, you might hear about creatures known as rebobs. These are said to be semi-intelligent monsters that look like a cross between a monkey and a vampire bat. Supposedly, they haunt an area known as Partrick Road, which extends far to the west of the town proper. Now, I moved to Napa when I was a teenager, and I got to hear about the rebobs over and over again, usually around Halloween. According to these stories, people who were caught on Partrick Road after dark would find themselves surrounded by black, winged, screeching creatures, each one of them nearly the size of a fully grown human. Here's the thing, though. Partrick Road was one of those places that amorous adolescents would sneak away to in order to get some alone time. If someone's friends ever found out that a buddy was planning to take a date there, they'd drive out after them, dress up in black trash bags, then reenact the scariest scene from The Wizard of Oz. Pretty much everyone knew the truth behind the tale, but it was just more fun to keep the legend alive. That's the other thing about these sorts of stories. They're usually based on something completely mundane that's been exaggerated with every retelling. The chupacabra was probably a coyote with mange, and the world's obsession with alien abductions was kicked off by a single account, which sounds amazingly like the saga of a sleep-deprived couple being startled by a streetlight. These aren't lies. The people who experience the inspiration for urban legends often genuinely believe what they're saying. But once a seed of speculation has been planted, more and more of it tends to crop up. You see, it's actually fun to be frightened. The idea that there's something scary and unknowable out there sets our minds ablaze with possibilities. We like being scared almost as much as we like being outraged, and we like freaking out about things beyond our control. Horror movies exploit this, as do roller coasters and news outlets. For as long as humans have been humans, we've enjoyed looking into the shadows and imagining what might be in them. And when we started to bring light into those places, we were disappointed when reality wasn't as exciting as what we'd created in our heads. That's why the stories spread faster and further than the truth. And it's also what makes the case of the Frowning Man so odd. If you do a Google search for the Frowning Man, you'll find a lot of internet stories making use of the same term for different characters. What you probably won't find are any references to a real-world urban legend that started to get passed around in the 1980s. There's actually a potential explanation for that absence of information, but it's just as strange as the story itself, and understanding it requires a look at how the whole thing started. In September of 1979, a 16-year-old girl by the name of Darsha Learton went missing from the little town of Healdsburg, California. While the official investigation concluded that she had run away, none of Darsha's friends were willing to believe it. In fact, the day before the disappearance, a group of them had gone out for a night in a neighboring town, during which Darsha had talked about looking forward to her high school's homecoming dance. She was seen several times during the following day, but never again afterward. The only lead, which the authorities decided not to pursue, was a mention of a man whom they had allegedly seen while walking back to their car. A description of this half-remembered figure resulted in a single police sketch, which might never have seen the light of day had it not been for a second disappearance that occurred soon after. That was when a local myth, having been long forgotten until then, started to resurface. Like any urban legend, the one surrounding this abductor had a tendency to change depending on who was telling it, but a few details remained consistent. The man was said to be a drifter of some variety, a circus worker maybe, or perhaps just a vagabond, who could be seen walking around at night with a dark scowl on his face. For the most part, he left people alone, seemingly content to wander beneath streetlights and in less traveled sections of whatever towns he visited. Every so often, though, someone would apparently catch his eye. It didn't matter if they were alone or in a group, nor did details like age or gender seem to be important. The first encounter was always the same. According to witnesses, the Frowning Man would look up, stare for a moment, and then walk out of sight, but not before offering a wide, unsettling grin. Exactly one night later, allegedly to the hour, he would somehow track down whomever had caught his attention, and they would just disappear. That isn't to suggest that people would physically evaporate, mind you, although the truth is even more unsettling. It almost seemed like the Frowning Man would use the intervening day to learn his prey's movements, then strike when they were vulnerable. Some less than credible individuals speculated that he actually arranged circumstances to fit his agenda, but there was never evidence to support that. In fact, there was scarcely any evidence of his existence at all. After someone had seen that smile, the Frowning Man would vanish, and he wouldn't be witnessed again until 24 hours before the next abduction. Some people also mentioned a peppermint-like scent that seemed to surround him, and which was said to be present wherever someone had last been seen. The element which made this whole affair particularly eerie was that some of the victims were actually found, but they weren't who people remembered. One woman had taken up residence in a city about as far away from her hometown as was possible, and although she didn't say much to the person who recognized her, she was said to have just mumbled and stared at the ground, she reportedly claimed to have lived there all her life. Even when her former husband went out to meet her, she was described as being vacant and empty, in stark contrast to the lively and talkative girl that she had been years prior. As these seemingly legitimate testimonies continued to surface, one investigator discovered, or at least claimed to have discovered, that there was actually a pattern. You may have even heard about that detective. He was the one with undiagnosed paranoid schizophrenia who was ultimately committed after trying to hold his entire department hostage. According to his, now questionable explanation, only people who had been previously informed of the Frowning Man's existence were at risk of being taken. Individuals who reported the disappearances of their friends and families said that they had already been aware of the legend, along with the childlike nursery rhyme that supposedly described it. If you're walking in the night, evil frowns are quite a fright, but don't cause the man to smile, or your fate will be most vile. Needless to say, this only spurred everything onward. The idea that hearing about the Frowning Man could put you at risk of being taken by him is exactly the sort of thing that these stories always seem to thrive on. Nobody ever thought to explain how a wandering vagrant could have known that he had been recognized, although some suggested the presence of an otherworldly influence. Enough people believed the tale to make it a frightening one, though, and the end result was a complete suppression of any material pertaining to it. Newspapers were asked to discontinue reporting on the topic. Investigations were quietly closed, and by the time that the internet became commonplace, the story only existed in whispers told around campfires. Nowadays, if you ask anyone about the Frowning Man, chances are they won't know what you're talking about, or they might just reference a second-rate creepypasta. They almost certainly won't mention that hideous scowl, that horrifying grin, or the haunting scent of peppermint that seems to follow his victims. Still, maybe it's better that way. If the legend is true, then you're safe as long as you don't know about him. But of course, now you do. Peekaboo! Winston, it's just boo.
What?
It's just boo.
Can I say good job instead?
No, it's what you say to scare people.
Why are people scared of doing a good job?
You know what? I hope you were listening, and I hope the Frowning Man takes you.
Okay, yeah, about that. Smells like peppermint, creepy smile. Are we sure we weren't talking about Santa Claus?